with some practical solutions to challenges and have the time or the resources to address. So these presentations today, which we will be sharing with our team, and some of which we will also hopefully be implementing some of them. So we are sort of a practical partner in the field. We're very grassroots, looking for innovative, sustainable, low carbon solutions, especially with materials that can be found locally to generate employment. So thank you so much, Hector, for having chosen us again as your partner this year. And thank you all for the work that you've been doing on this project. Really excited to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you,
Over to you,
Daniela.
Hector.
No, I have to thank you for the opportunity. I think this is a great opportunity, not just for us as academics, but more importantly for the students and the people that actually work on these projects. One of the things that I have been trying to do with my molding in particular is to teach them stuff that could be seen at sometimes like obvious, but it's not something that actually more or most designers utilize when they come to deal with the problems, especially when it comes to practical solutions. So so we are going to have today 4 presentations, our 4 projects that Valentina selected. I mean, I didn't influence her decision. I thought that would be fair for all the students. It happened that she selected, I mean, 4 projects with what I understand, good marks, which is great. But there are many others that actually we receive 11 projects that are equally probably good. And what I'm going to do, Daniela, later on is to send you more information about those other projects, because as you said, probably there is something there that can be implemented. And if you find that in those other projects, there is something that could be useful for you, let me know and I can put you in contact with those other groups. So without further ado, what we're going to start with the presentations. So I think I sent you a list of presentations. I mean, which one is the first one? If you can help me here. Okay.
I think it's G2.
Okay, G2.
G2,
So,
then G4, G9, and G10.
perfect. So G2, could you share your screen? And what I'm going to ask you, please try to be concise, and you have 10 minutes. So we allow time for questions from Daniela and Chris. And please, I mean, everyone ask question at the end. Okay, this is an opportunity for everyone to participate. Those that they don't have your cameras on at some point, it will be great if you can probably at the end you can switch on your camera so we can take a picture. It's actually rise, and all of you can promote this event whenever you want. I mean, to have just a few of us there in the screen is not really nice for a picture. So let's do that at the end. You don't need to do it now. So who is gonna share the screen? Group G2. Great, Yu-chan. So whenever you want, you can start. No, we lost you. We lost the presentation.
Wait, I forgot to turn on the phone. So
Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your presentation. So you can start.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. We are Group 2, and we are pleased to present our design proposal. And our project is the Lapa, a vernacular solar home. In this proposal, we want to explore how architecture can integrate cultural identity and also environmental responsiveness to create a resilient home for families in Maseru. We chose a site in Maseru that is surrounded by schools of different levels, as we can see from the screen. And because our design focus on how housing can support education and family care, So by placing this prototype within an educational district, we aim to amplify its impact, positioning the home not only as a shelter, but as a model that fosters learning, care, and community resilience. And this size does come with some challenges, as we know, including large temperature changes throughout the day and year, and as well as noise and pollution from the nearby main road. But the prevailing wind and sun paths also gave us some useful clues for shaping a more climate responsive design. The core concept of our design is inspired by the traditional roundabout, a circular thatched dwelling common in the Lesotho, and the circular form encourages really collective life, spatial distinctiveness, and thermal performance. So we aim to reinterpret these vernacular principles in a way that is both culturally rooted and environmentally responsive. Also, this project builds on the concept that incorporating continuous walls that also function as interactive educational services, promoting learning areas such as discipline, language, sensory integration, nature, and cognitive development. We began with shoebox simulation to test key passive design strategies, such as orientation, window placement, thermal mass, and U values. These tests allows us to have the first insight into the building's performance in terms of heat gain and thermal performance before moving into full-scale design development. The environmental strategy involved zoning the house based on solar exposure and use patterns. So all the auxiliary areas are placed in the cells with minor solar access. They also can help block the noise from the main road. And communal and sunlit spaces face the north to maximize passive solar gain, while all the bedrooms are located on the second floor to ensure privacy. Our design utilize the thermal mass of the building to the most and carefully avoid overheating by considering seasonal shading strategy. And day and night ventilation strategies are also proposed to achieve good air quality. This design is an iterative process. So through multiple design iterations, we refine the building form and layout to enhance passive performance. In the base case, we consider materials like mud, hempcrete, and tiles, concrete, and wood, but the overall thermal comfort is just 57% annually. Thus, we adapt a series of improvements, such as introduce the trump wall for further improve the thermal storage, adjust the position and side of the openings to enhance the solar access, and further improve the overall material thermal performance by its U value and thermal mass. Also with the mindset of the embodied carbon. And finally, we also propose the control strategy of each openings to ensure healthy level of CO2 concentration in a room. As we can see, we have different temperature threshold for each windows that you can for the residents to help to control the overall window and ventilation in the house. So the final thermal performance in our house can achieve 88% yearly and almost all the time under 1,000 ppm of CO2 in a house. The materials selected are locally available and most of them are like accessible from nearby South Africa area. And the most important thing, they are low impact. And we explore the combinations of wall bricks, stone and mud, thatch, and minor usage of concrete and glass, which not only reflect local construction practices, but also enhance thermal stability. These choices ensure the house is buildable by local communities and has low embodied carbon. And finally, this is our new Vilapa, a warm and healthy house for the family to live and the kids to grow. Through the passive strategies and the reduction of embodied carbon, the project serves as a replicable model for climate-responsive, inclusive architecture in this resource-constrained country. Okay, that's briefly walk through our project, and this is the sky view from the top. The living area and the toddler space for the kids to climb over the wall and find a little cave to hide in, and the living and the bedroom for the kids to explore and put their drawings everywhere. Thank you. This is our proposal.
Thank you, Chen. Really clear presentation. Yeah, super good. Thank you very much. Now, one thing that I would like to clarify for people in Rice is that the students, they have to design a house that for a family of 4, that during the weekdays operate also as a childminder, where they receive 10 kids. So it's not just a house, it's also a house that have another function. Now, on the other hand, also some of the requirements for this project is that the house needs to be completely passive, okay? No means of any active features. I need to operate ideally passive during the whole year. Good, so can we go to the next group, please? Group 4.
Share my screen.
Brilliant. We can see your
Okay. Sorry. Give me 1 second.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Don't worry. Okay, we are in the, if you can, no, still we can see the presentation, which
Yeah,
is
I
with
don't
your
know why
notes.
it's. Hold on.
I mean, I don't mind. I guess as far as, I mean, unless you have some comments there or some notes.
Yeah, there's no comments. It's just. Oh,
Right,
Is
at
this-
the top left, I said display settings. I don't know if you can change it if you go back
yeah.
and make it full screen.
Hold on. Am I still sharing screen?
No.
Is that visible now?
Say again, sorry?
Hold on, sorry. Okay. Okay. I think I got it.
Yes.
Brilliant. Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, so you
Should we
can
start?
start, and other people, please turn off your microphone, unless you're part of the group and then you're going to talk to. But okay, you can start.
Good morning. Thank you for your time and attention today. We're Group 4 and I'll be introducing our project. Our project, located in West Maseru, centers around 3 core principles: efficiency, affordability, and replicability. We set out to design a passive home that significantly reduces reliance on mechanical systems and grid power, not just for performance, but for relevance. In Lesotho's financial and climatic context, sustainability must be both accessible and adaptable. Every material choice and design strategy were evaluated through this lens, ensuring that the final proposal is not only high-performing, but also financially feasible and replicable across similar contexts and communities. At its heart, the proposal is shaped by 4 drivers: the client's needs, cultural heritage, climate responsiveness, and construction practicality. The design reinterprets the traditional lalapa, a communal courtyard concept, to foster shared experience while maintaining privacy. The spatial arrangement encourages social interaction while maintaining a clear separation between shared and private areas. The flexible layout supports child minding during the day through a dedicated playroom, integrating indoor and outdoor elements to enrich the user experience. Zoning strategies enhance everyday functionality, aligning with modern living standards while respecting cultural practices. Every design decision carries a dual purpose. It enhances the spatial and architectural experience and simultaneously improves environmental performance. For instance, the building's narrow floor plan and strategic openings maximize cross-ventilation, while the flat roof discreetly hosts photovoltaic panels to harness solar energy year-round. Construction prioritizes locally sourced materials, balancing thermal mass and breathability to regulate indoor temperatures. Exposed internal surfaces reduce material use and embodied carbon. Internal zoning, recessed windows, and dual aspect rooms further enhance energy efficiency, daylighting, and occupant comfort, all while working to minimize energy demand. In essence, this home is more than a shelter. It's a sustainable living system rooted in culture and climate. It supports local craftsmanship, prioritizes health and comfort, and presents a scalable, resilient model for future housing in Lesotho and beyond.
So through our iterative design process, we had both minor and major design changes as we thermally improved our building. There were 3 notable strategies, which were leveraging construction materials, vents and louvers, and optimizing glazing ratios and adding shutters.
To aid the iterative design process, we created a library of constructions where we could quickly simulate various combinations of construction typologies. To create a set of optimized constructions, our process focused on optimizing thermal efficiency through insulating materials, increasing the thermal mass of the insulating layers, indigenous materials where a business case can be made for the local economy in Lesotho, low maintenance materials, as from our research, interviews with rural Lesotho people suggested that many like the modern concrete block homes for this reason. Aesthetics and materiality to enhance the sense of connections to the home through cultural ties. From here, we were able to simulate a series of iterations. It became clear that the constructions utilizing thermal mass, which had the ability to absorb, store, and release heat, outperformed highly insulated build-ups. These graphs show the change in internal temperature across 24 hours in summer and winter for 3 different iterations. They demonstrate how the thermally massive constructions, the blue and orange lines, act as a buffer against temperature fluctuations, stabilizing internal temperatures during both summer and winter, compared to the black line, which shows how highly insulated constructions work less effectively in hotter climates. Through research and our first stage of iterations, we took forward the following constructions. The external wall consists of compressed earth bricks internally, which are left exposed to utilize a thermal mass as well as for an aesthetic textural finish. Hempcrete block is used as an insulator, finished with a durable colored lime render, resonant of traditional mud walls. We opted for a suspended ground floor, which allowed for tubes-full insulation to be installed between the joists. Sandstone floor tiles were chosen for its thermal mass properties. In line with our core principles, we proposed an innovative and affordable underfloor heating strategy using solar hot water panels, which are relatively cheap and have already been installed on houses around Maseru. As Lesotho is one of the highest available annual sun hours in Southern Africa, our simulations demonstrated that even in winter, the underfloor heating could be mostly powered by harnessing renewable solar energy. We opted for a flat roof for ease of access and maintenance for the solar panels.
And going on about our vents and louvers that we included, it harnesses a buoyancy-driven natural ventilation by incorporating air bricks on the outer surface of the external wall, which facilitates entry of fresh air into the external wall and into the indoor space through the gap in the external wall. And there's a mesh grille on the inner surface, which allows for more controlled airflow alongside the open flap flap, which allows for the occupant control for inlet and outlet air. And because the inlet louvers are located on the bottom of the surface of the external wall, and there's a higher louver on the opposite wall, it allows for external air to be let out through hot air as well.
Okay, and this slide shows strategies to improving the glazing and shading. First, the secondary glazing adds an extra layer to the windows, which helps keep heat during the winter. Second, external shutters can block or allow the sunlight as needed, helping to control the heat gain or loss. And third, larger glazing areas can bring in more sunlight during the cold month, improving the warmth and the comfort. Altogether, the three strategies can help balance the temperature and improve the energy efficiency of the building.
And we have done 17 iterations totally, and this is a summary graph of all the thermal comfort results. It shows a gradually increasing percent of periods within the thermal comfort range, and iteration 16 is our final design, which is 71% comfort for the downstairs and 86% comfort for the upstairs bedrooms. This is 40% increase from the baseline. And next is a similar graph for CO2 levels. Through our ventilation strategies, we increased the period when CO2 level was less than 1000 by 15%, and also reduced those extremely high results. The mean CO2 level of our final design is below 900.
To understand the impact of the materials we've chosen, we calculated the upfront carbon of our baseline and final proposal. This includes the production, transportation, and construction phase. Carbon sequestered by biogenic materials has been reported separately for transparency. This is important because, as you can see on the graph in the lower left, although some materials are marketed as carbon negative, when splitting carbon emissions for biogenic carbon, it becomes clear to see that the emissions from the manufacturing process for some bio-based materials is still high. From our baseline proposal, we're able to reduce our carbon emissions by over 50%, equivalent to 43 tons of carbon. This was mostly down to reducing the quantity of hempcrete, which contains carbon-intensive lime. We also reduced the quantity of concrete in the foundations by using recycled tires sourced from nearby garages with a recycled aggregate infill. The proposed changes brought the overall embodied carbon per square metre just shy of the aspirational LETI 2030 target.
Finally, some key findings, and climate-responsive passive design is essential to balance winter solar gain and summer overheating mitigation. Indigenous materials can significantly help reduce embodied carbon. Effective iterative process that integrates different strategies would have a better impact. For future recommendations, occupant behavior in modeling would be refined. Long-term performance could also be assessed through post-occupant evaluations. Yeah, that's all. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, great
Thank you.
presentation, guys. Really, really good. Really happy with that. So can we go to the next group, please? Brilliant.
Yep. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen, but it's yeah, if you can put the presentation mode, will be great.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yes, we can see your screen.
Is my group ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So morning, guys. We are Group 9, and today we are presenting the Kutlano house based in the high altitude city of Mokhotlong. And Kutlano in Lesotho language means harmony. And so the aim was to create a home that integrates environmental performance, cultural sensitivity, and well-being for a family of 4, and as a daytime childcare facility. And in our presentation, we'll be going through key aspects of our design, including the passive strategies, material choices, spatial layout, and thermal performance. Firstly, our site is located in the residential area in Mokhotlong with access to secondary roads, and it's about 500 meters southwest of the Mokhotlong airport. The region is cool climate, so the cooler temperatures, and characterized by very strong solar intensity. The sun moves across the northern sky, so we've oriented the house north to capture winter sun while also think about shading during the summer. And wind predominantly comes from southwest, allowing us to design for natural cross ventilation. So now Mike will talk about the architectural design.
As for architectural design, the house is shaped as a triangle to reduce exposed surface area and to resist the strong prevailing winds in Mokhotlong. This simple geometry creates a compact and stable form that sits lightly in the landscape. From the beginning, our intention was to design a home that feels natural and rooted to place, using a clear architectural language that works with the environment rather than against it. The main living space sits at the heart of ground floor, encouraging social interaction and providing access to the external garden. The garden is designed as safe, dedicated play area for children with easy supervision linked to the living space. To the east is the kitchen and dining area, benefiting from direct solar exposure and sitting adjacent to the solar greenhouse, enjoying both light and warmth. Also, a separate toilet is the ground floor, on the ground floor, provides facilities for the daytime childcare. On the first floor are the master bedroom and children's bedroom with family bathroom and the central corridor. The roof skylight brings warmth and light into the corridor, helping to heat the interior naturally and passively. The sectional drawings clearly show how the triangular roof creates spatial variety, channels light, and supports thermal comfort. Overall, the design balances form, function, and climate responsiveness to create a simple yet powerful family home that feels connected to its environment and community.
The environmental strategy has been assessed according to summer and winter seasons. Our architectural design was made to reflect the sun position and angle for both summer and winter. In winter, the low angle of the sun allows the sunlight to enter through the north-facing solar greenhouse. This helps in warming the thermal mass and also preheats the air entering the living spaces. The bedroom also have relatively large north-facing windows with makeshift double glazing, where we use two single glazed panels with an air gap in between them. This was used due to the budget constraints of Lesotho. The ceiling void with glazing acts as a sort of thumb wall, which helps with heating the air and also the thermal mass in the ceiling of the bedrooms. During the nighttime, the thermal mass releases all the heat stored to maintain thermal comfort. In summer, the sun has a high angle, which is blocked by the overhangs and shading devices to reduce overheating. The windows have been positioned to facilitate cross ventilation when opened, which allows for flushing out of the warm air and increases thermal comfort. On the summer nights, the openable windows allow for hot air to escape while also promotes cooling for the next day comfort. As for the thermal comfort range, we selected the range according to adaptive comfort model and the South African building regulations, which is 19 to 25 degrees Celsius. For the bedrooms, we have slightly altered this range to accommodate for the fact that the people use warm clothing and blankets, so it has been reduced by a couple of degrees.
So in terms of material choices, we prioritized indigenous sustainable materials for the different building elements, partly due to RISE's priorities in this area. So CEBs, compressed earth blocks, were used for the structural external walls, thanks to their load-bearing capacity and their thermal mass. Thatch was used for the roofing and external wall insulation, making use of its insulative and weatherproof properties. Sandstone was used for external wall cladding for its robust hard wearing properties and aesthetics, and also for floor tiling internally. Sheep's wool was used for insulation in the roof, external walls, internal partitions and ceilings. And we used hempcrete in the ground floor construction with its sustainable insulative properties. And finally, timber was used for the roof and the first floor structures and the internal partitions, thanks to its compressive and tensile strength and durability. We also used standard locally available materials such as plasterboard for internal finishes. Next slide, please. So yeah, the external wall constructions, as you can see from this slide, were tailored to their orientations, with the cold south wall having thatch added on the outside as external wall insulation to prevent heat loss from the internal CEBs. The east and west gable walls were made into cavity walls with a sandstone external skin. to protect from the elements, sheep's wool insulation in between, and CEB internally to level out internal temperature fluctuations. The north wall retained the CEBs as the external skin, largely protected from the elements by the greenhouse, and therefore available to absorb solar radiation and transmit it internally. As you can see on the table here, the U values achieved by these combinations of materials are generally very good, with all the walls meeting current UK building regulations, which we use as a benchmark due to the similar climate and temperature ranges of the two countries. So these constructions played a key role in the successful thermal performance of the building. And next slide, please. We also did an embodied carbon analysis for our building, calculating the upfront embodied carbon from production and transport to site. We had to make estimates for the embodied carbon, as can be seen in the table. So for thatch, CEBs and sheep's wool, we all assumed those to be locally available and produced locally in Mokhotlong. These markets, however, do need to be developed and clarified. Sandstone and hempcrete transport figures were based on local identified suppliers, so Lesotho stone in the west of the country and Afrimat, a South African hempcrete supplier just northeast of Lesotho. Production figures were very scarce for products made in South Africa itself, so we've had to use figures from established suppliers such as UK or research projects. The chart on this screen shows the contribution of each material to the overall embodied carbon, showing hempcrete as a negative figure, which is a great benefit to the construction. Also thatch shown as negative due to the carbon sequestering from the growth of the hemp, and the CEBs being the major contributor to the embodied carbon. Overall, however, our building performs very well compared to LETI targets set for the UK at a third of even the 2030 target. So this demonstrates the benefits of using local, natural and indigenous materials that require little processing and transportation. Thank you.
So our baseline model achieved 55% thermal comfort, and this underwent iterative improvements. So first we added insulation through building fabric improvements. Next we added passive ventilation strategies, adding window operation, simulating real user behavior, and then a greenhouse buffer. And we found that this, in addition to the removal of inner partition, balanced out the overheating that was happening in the kitchen and had the most significant improvement in thermal comfort. And finally, our final design model that added the roof void, skylight, and master bedroom skylight achieved comfort levels of 71% overall. And CO2 also achieved over 95% of occupied hours below the 1000 ppm threshold. And the graphs here also show the performance of our design during the coldest and warmest days. And as you can see, we were able to achieve relatively stable temperatures and separation despite the wide external temperature range. And as with any design, I think ours also faces some real-world limitations, and construction features like roof voids, the greenhouse, and our secondary glazing details may be hard to build accurately with local tools or skills. And materials such as hempcrete or sheep wool may not be reliably available or with good quality or affordable for many households. And our open plan layout might not align with cultural preferences for privacy, and passive systems that we use depend on consistent user behavior to work effectively. Lastly, our embodied carbon analysis doesn't capture all components, as Joanna said, and there are lots of assumptions, and so actual carbon impact could be higher than reported. And that is all. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for a great presentation too. You're doing really well, guys. It's great. It's really fantastic. I'm just getting an idea for next year. So it's really great to see your presentations. Okay, can we go to the next presentation? Who is presenting?
Can you see my screen?
It's opening. Yep.
Okay. Climate-responsive architecture is becoming crucial in addressing sustainable challenges. This project explored the application of passive solar strategies in Maseru by designing a single-family dwelling with a nursery space. Analyzing Maseru's climate helped us identify the factors that will influence our project. For example, the warm days emphasize the need for shading and good ventilation, while the cold nights highlight that insulation and thermal mass are necessary. In other words, passive heating and cooling strategies are required throughout the year. The shoebox analysis was hence carried out to test several passive and design parameters. It gave us insights into optimizing the proposed design, such as orienting the longer facade to the north, using insulation and thermal mass for passive solar heating, or even implementing a shading strategy that optimizes the solar gains in winter and provides shade in the summer.
Let's look at the site context. Maseru is the capital of Lesotho. The selected site for the residence project is a 68 by 40 meter open land in Maseru West, a mid to high-end residential area close to the central business district near Kingsway. Since there are many schools in this area, the context is suitable for the requirement to be both a house and a nursery. Meanwhile, a project in a high-end residential district may well be helpful in setting a trend for constructing sustainable housing in the city. Finally, based on the direct sun hour analysis, the house will be placed in the lower right corner of the site, thus maximizing the winter sun hours and minimizing the summer sun hours. The concept de vita beata comes from a book by Seneca, an ancient Roman philosopher, which means the happy life. In architecture terms, vita beata can be translated in space that makes people feel joyful and comfortable. Many new houses in Maseru emphasize form and social status, but often neglect environmental response and human experience. In contrast, vernacular architecture tends to reflect a deeper understanding of the environment and climate, but often falls short in conveying social status and accommodating modern needs. Thus, in this project, the concept of vita beata is further developed as a sustainable lifestyle, using architecture to realize a balance between design, environment, and experience. As you can see, the massing was developed through an integration of shoebox simulation and the vita beata concept. A linear volume is oriented towards the north to maximize solar heat gain, while the overall form is intentionally kept simple and elegant. Openings and form are carefully shaped to enhance occupant comfort both visually and thermally. Here is the isometric view of the house. North-facing roof windows can capture solar heat in winter and improve interior daylighting. A balcony functions as a solar room, serving both as a thermal buffer and a key architecture feature. The overhang and outdoor play area on the ground floor enhance the usability of the outdoor space and provide shading, creating a vibrant space for those kids in the nursery. Now let's look at the space layout. Firstly, the ground floor plan, the dining room and kindergarten are designed on the ground floor based on privacy hierarchy and accessibility for the elder and children. Based on the vita beata concept, it's important to have sufficient daylight in the room to create pleasant indoor environment. For this reason, both spaces have large window openings on the north facade. Secondly, on the first floor plan, the entire family space is on the upper floor to ensure sufficient privacy to create a pleasant indoor environment. The daylight is still the key element of this floor. A large solar room is designed on the north facade, providing daylight and helping to adjust the indoor temperature in different seasons. Next part is the construction material. Our material strategy responds directly to Maseru's cold winter. To reduce the heat demand, we prioritize thermal mass and low carbon materials. The major raw material is compressed earth brick. selected for its high thermal mass and low embodied carbon. To maximize thermal mass efficiency, we avoided timber flooring and internal plaster finishings, allowing solar storing materials to be exposed. For the loading structure, we use cross-laminated timber, a sustainable and renewable material. Most material, including sandstones, concrete panels, and compressed earth brick, are either locally sourced or available from nearby regions, minimizing transport-related carbon emissions.
Let's talk about the passive solar strategy. So for the summer day, we use the overhangs to block the high-angle summer sun, and we also allow cross ventilation. This helps flush out warm air and keeps the thermal mass cooler. On the top of that, we use stack effect ventilation, and the building also have the thermal mass and the insulation. The thermal mass could absorb some of the heat, and the insulation could keep the outside heat from getting in. And lastly, south-facing windows bring natural daylight while being shaded to avoid overheating. At night in summer, the strategy flips. We open up windows to allow night purging, and the thermal mass now release the heat, helping reset the building temperature for the next day. And in winter, we do almost the opposite. The overhangs now allow low-angle winter sun to enter windows, and we also add a sunroom to trap solar heat. And inside, the thermal mass absorbs this heat and stores it. And we still have ventilation paths, but now they are controlled to avoid heat loss. And the insulation helps retain the heat we gain from the sun. And finally, night in winter, the thermal mass starts to release heat. It release the heat it stored from the day, and we design the envelope to retain heat, preventing nighttime heat loss. And the insulation continue to trap warmth inside, and a small roof opening are kept to balance CO2 levels while minimizing cold air entry. And then let's talk about our design module. So in the beginning, the IS simulation showed winter underheating, like only 37% comfort level. So first step, we improve our ventilation. We replace the fixed window schedule with smart sensor-based system, and this change boosted comfort from 37 to 65. And step two, we upgraded the building envelope. Next slide, please. And this type is about material. We added more insulation and used high thermal mass material. And these materials all come from local material. And after this change, comfort improved to 82%, with most rooms experience light underheating and almost no overheating. And for step three, we added an east-facing window to the kindergarten, so it gets sunlight early in the day. And for the living room, we reduce greenhouse size, cutting down solar gain, and we flipped the roof to make sure the bedroom gets more heat gain. And now comfort went up to 87%. And for our final design, we introduced internal shading. It's super effective in summer to block high-angle sun and reduce glare without losing daylight. This final way to make our comfort level to 89%, which is pretty much ideal.
So what will be the environmental footprint if we want to build this project? The initial design had an upfront embodied carbon footprint of 400 kilogram CO2 equivalent per square meter, with the steel facade and roof and the wooden flooring being responsible for 67% of this total. Our strategy was to switch to locally sourced lower carbon materials while maintaining the overall design. This change resulted in 49% reduction in the embodied carbon, bringing it down to 204 kilograms CO2 equivalent per square meter, thus meeting the UK net zero carbon building standard targets for 2029. Finally, most areas meet the daylight criteria, but there were glare issues in the bedroom and the kindergarten. After installing the blinds, we successfully met the daylight criteria. In conclusion, our project demonstrates how thoughtful design, including passive solar strategies, sustainable materials, and daylight analysis, can create energy-efficient homes with minimal environmental footprint that can be both practical and affordable, even in low-income areas like Maseru. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for that presentation, the panel group. Great presentation all. We don't have that much time, I think, but Daniela, I mean, please, your feedback will be great for the groups.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. That was super impressive. There's also my colleague Tato, who's joins us, who's our design and construction manager. So she was on site, so only heard, I think, 2 of the presentations, but I would like to invite her at some point to give some of her feedback. What I would just like to say is, first of all, incredible analysis of great passive design principles, and all the analysis of all the carbon footprint and analysis, and a number of you took the holistic approach about. Sorry, the groups just come back. Sorry.
Don't worry.
Sorry, I'll relocate. So also a few of you did a holistic approach of not just the materials in place and the embodied carbon, but also the manufacturing process. So well done for that. I was also really impressed with your analysis. Some of the information you got, I don't know how you got it, because Lesotho is not an easy country to get information on. So I know you will have gone through a lot of trouble to do that analysis. And to be aware of the local context as well. The thing I always think of is the practicality, and I know looking at cost wasn't part of your remit, but some of the proposal, first of all, like 2-floor affordable housing doesn't exist. They're all single story. So think about both in terms of knowledge, community knowledge about foundations to build that secondary floor. How realistic is that? And what additional, expenses is incurred for that. And also, just so you know the context, we don't have secondary glazing normally in houses. It's something we as RISE are trying to promote, the importance of cavity walls. But affordable housing with secondary glazing just doesn't exist. In fact, most buildings don't even have secondary glazing. But also the sheep's wool insulation, it's something we've actually looked at, but it's such an expensive material because it gets exported to as a textile material. There just isn't enough, as the group said. You probably don't think there's enough of it, and it's also just not affordable for insulation. Amazing visuals that you put together. Just a few questions, but again, this is probably beyond your remit. What about septic water access and energy access? Those are key kind of questions we have. And I loved the concept. Some of you had some really great ideas, and I'm so glad. I think all the groups mentioned that compressed earth blocks is the way to go, which is a massive relief to Tato and I, because that's the material we've invested a lot, and we've got actually presses that we're making locally between South Africa and Lesotho, because we've had some samples brought in from Italy and Kenya. And that's the sector so that's like, phew, okay, we're along the right lines. But the underground heating, actually, that was something the British built a lot of old buildings when it was a sort of a protectorate with elevated floors. I would love to, we're out of time, but I'd love to discuss that more with that group. And I hope we get all of these presentations and also the additional presentations that we haven't had, because we're really looking at, coming up with affordable, practical solutions. So well done, everybody. I'm super impressed with the level of detail that you went through and the visuals that you came up with. So I'll just hand over to Tato if you've got any comments or questions, Tato. Tato, are you there? We've only got 2 minutes left. I know we lost Chris earlier because of internet connections. Oh, I don't see her on anymore. I'm not sure at what point we lost her. Gosh, sorry, this is the
Okay.
context we work
Can I
on.
suggest something, Daniela?
Yes,
I mean,
please.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna pass these presentations to your team. It will be really useful for all of us if you can compile questions and comments, suggestions, everything. Because I mean, I have been running this module for many years, and whatever feedback you give me is gonna obviously improve the brief and the work of the student in future year. But for the students here, the one that have done the work, I hope that actually this experience and also presenting to you and looking, I mean, seeing that this is something quite real, and also can help for them for their futures. I don't know how many of them they're going to go back to their countries, they're going to remain in the UK, and even who knows, maybe some of them decide to go to Lesotho and help you over there. That will be great in the future.
Absolutely.
But if you can compile all the comments and then send it to me, and I can pass it to them.
Absolutely. Yes. If you want to share all the presentations, and we can definitely do that and carry on with the conversation. And also, we do organize international workshops. We've got one starting on the 21st of July for 2 weeks. It's going to be on building something that can be built, either a partition or external urinals for a primary school. So to get some practice in how you produce ICEB, because it's with an interlocking press, and then how to build with it. We do an annual workshop, so you're all very welcome to come and visit Lesotho and see the practical work, visit our projects, and get to know our work a bit better. So yes, I look forward to getting all your presentations, and then we'll send back our comments and feedback, and maybe in future we'll allow for an hour and a half to give some more time for the dialogue at the end, because you did all really well in 10-minute presentations. You fitted it all in, but we didn't have enough time for Q&A, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you have done a great job. I'm really impressed too. Can I ask everyone to probably switch on your camera so we can take a picture, if that is okay?
That's a really great idea.
I know that we have a student that their projects were not selected, but if they can still switch on your cameras, will be great. I'm really glad that other students are there to support your classmates. That shows a lot, so thank you for that. Still, yeah, great. Daisuke and Yaru, if you can, Fatma, please. If you're there, if not, well, I'm gonna take a picture like now. So guys, again, thank you very much for your work. This is really good. I'm really glad. Like the presentations. I think we are super clear and concise, to the point, which is great. Well done. Really well done.
Absolutely. And also, just so you all know, we will be sharing this with our design pioneers, who are young architects in Lesotho, to get exposure and experience of presentations, how to put them together. So if any of you are interested in mentoring, helping, skills sharing, please let us know. Hector, I think if you send my email around so everyone's got my contact details, that would be wonderful.
I will do.
Don't worry. Share it in the chat.
Brilliant. Okay, Daniela, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to the students. Thank you for the opportunity to UCL. And let's continue doing this in the future.
Absolutely.
And guys, if any of you wants to get directly in contact with Rice and Daniela and the team, please do so, okay? But let me know, because it would be great if some of you can go there and help these guys and Rice and on the work. Okay? Good. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you. Thanks,
well done,
Hector.
guys.
Thanks, everybody. All the very best. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.